Father, thank you. I'm struck by how, when we grasp how you see us, how that can change us, how that changes how we even treat others and the decisions we make. When we see that we are loved, and when we see that we are valued, when we see that we have a unique identity that you have given us, when we see that you have a unique thing that you have called us to do in this world that no one else can do if we don't. We're the only us in our world, right? I'm the only dad my children will know. I'm the only grandfather my grandkids will know. I'm the only husband to my wife. I'm the only friend. And there's something that you want to bring through the gifts and the talents and even the failures of my life. You want to bring your life through me to others. And it's true for everyone here. So God, as we start this journey of trying to hear your voice, the loudest of all, just help us hear you. Help us hear you. So who is true Father? This is what I wrote as I started to think about voice 3. I said, voice 3 reverberates with the rumble and fierceness of thunder, yet it arrives warm and kind as an evening summer rain. His words carry an intrinsic authority which elicit a strong, unshakable sense that no truer voice has ever been heard. This voice is powerful and trustworthy and pure, and is the most elusive one for me to hear. Despite its years of hiding, or really me hiding from it, this voice became the most disruptive one of all, not only longing to be heard, but endeavoring to realign and redefine all the other voices. See, this third voice carries profound, trustworthy messages about my identity and value, my history and my destiny, my world and God, yearning to be heard and embraced. Messages declaring themselves true and affirming their right to claim to define both who and whose I am. See, this voice, he longs to be my true Father, and this voice invites me to be his true son. As you read the Gospels, and I know for me, and I read the words of Jesus, I always read all these kind of independent things he said, and I thought they were independent at least. But I would always miss the overriding themes of what Jesus was saying and what the Bible as a whole was saying. But I want to run over a whole bunch of them, and you actually have them in front of you, about who is this true Father. Well, this true Father, in Luke, he says, a true Father who watches for his runaway child to return, and when it occurs, runs to that child, then throws the biggest party the neighborhood's ever seen. That's our true Father. A true Father that is so engaged with creation, his creation, that he cares when a single sparrow falls from the sky. This is what the Bible is saying about our true Father. A true Father so close that he actually knows how many hairs are on your head. It's going to be easier job for him with some of us than others. A Father who has given you a new name from his own lips, your identity, right? A Father so happy about you that every time he thinks of you, he breaks out in celebration. Think about that. A Father who has given you the permanent name of sought after. You know, in Jewish culture, they would give names that had specific meanings, right? He's saying your name is sought after. A Father who wants you to call him Daddy. That's what Abba meant. Abba was Daddy. Dada. He wants you to call him Daddy as a trusting son or daughter. A Father who is a grand artist who personally designed you in the womb. An artist, a Father who unleashed the universe's grandest mission to rescue you from the prison of his enemy. A Father who pushed you out of the way and took the bullet for you on the cross. And a Father who has specifically chosen you. The Bible uses this term, he legally adopted you. A Father that includes you in his family's inheritance. and a Father who gives you the right to be called his son or his daughter. That's our true Father. I didn't make any of these up, right? They're all in there, right? That's the kind of Father. And so if you're not experiencing that kind of Father, it's just because you're not hearing him clearly. That's all. It's because the other voices are drowning him out. So, to experience him as true Father, it does taking a waking up, right, to who he really is. Because a lot of us have that warped, twisted view of who he is, right? But we also have to do what's the more painful part, which is letting him reverse the fatherless cycle. So I'm going to read a little bit of kind of my journey through that briefly here, just to kind of set up what that takes. So I wrote, reflecting back on those teenage years reveals a distinct pattern which affected me then and accelerated as the mysterious third voice beckoned me to run into my fatherless fears 30 years later. Like two accomplished junior high jocks, deflection and diminishment stood at the starting line of this journey, eager to dissuade me from understanding my story. Their corrupt partnership, fueled by Voice 2, kept me pacing in circles, unable to progress, my life stuck in an endless cycle of performance and pain till I collapsed each night, doomed to repeat the circuit again and again. Eventually exhausted and beat, two new voices or two new things came to be. Discontent worked hand in hand with desire to convince my reluctant heart to believe there must be more to life than I imagined. Then, like a seasoned Olympic relay team, discontent and desire trained me to push into my pain and dared me to reach out and grasp the third voice that was awakening in my heart. But like a race, I talk about a race I had when I was in junior high where I was a small guy. Can you imagine? I'm really tall now. But I was smaller then, and I had a race in junior high school where my coach made me do sprints, and I was not a sprinter. And I was at a really accomplished high school track meet, or junior high in this case, with people much, much faster than me. So I got put in the last race. And in the last race, it was just me and one other kid. And we're coming around the last bend of the race, and the kid was, yards ahead of me, dozens of yards ahead of me. And he was running, and he started to click his heels as he ran because he was so far ahead of me. He was like celebrating. And I just remember, having to finish the race with, he was done. In fact, he was done so far ahead of me that the finish line timers and the coaches and everything, they'd walked away from the finish line. And so I remember that, one of those memories of childhood that are so fun, wonderful. But I referenced that in this. I say, like that last race of the season, exiting the final curve, discouragement and disqualification pointed their fingers at me, mocking my attempts to push through my pain, my embarrassment, and my defeat, asserting that God's life must be for someone else, just not someone like me. Whether mistakes from my past or the number of times I'd failed to change, even the struggle with feeling defective that followed my sexual abuse, and many sexual abuse victims that they wrestled with their entire lives, discouragement and disqualification worked in unison, trying to convince me to give up. Yet that's why I'm drawn to the aspen tree. Like the melody of their rustling leaves, a true voice was speaking to me. I could hear it when I became quiet enough to listen. A faint murmur at first, barely a distant echo, reflecting off of a remote canyon wall. But it was an invitation waiting for the moment of the soil of my soul to be ready to hear his voice. The aspen tree, for most that don't know it, is actually one of the largest living organisms on earth. Its life is in its root system. We see the results of it, the trunk and the trees and the leaves, but the life is in its roots, and its roots are connected with each other. Often aspens are the first trees to emerge after a forest fire, because even though they might be burned on the surface, deep down there's life in those roots. And that's why I'm drawn to it. See, everyone has their own aspen tree. Perhaps the stars call to you at night, or you feel some inner longing when you watch your kids laugh, or you see an eagle soar overhead, or you look at the mountains. Perhaps the rumble of a thunderstorm or the crashing of ocean waves to shore stirs some deep place in you, places so deep that words can't even explain it, but you feel it. Something reminds you of the invitation awaiting you, beckoning you, daring you to run towards it. If you didn't know it, that feeling is the voice of a true Father, whispering your name, beckoning you to find it. But before that voice can reveal more, we must respond to its inaugural call. We must make a decision to hear the one true voice. As authors Wayne Jacobson and David Coleman describe, you can't press a caterpillar into a butterfly, mold it, and make it fly. It has to be transformed from the inside out. So must we. The transformation we need can only start when we stop running away from the voice and start walking towards it. When I finally stopped to listen myself, I acquiesced to the reality that I needed to hear someone other than myself. The words I heard from the third voice were not what I expected. In a kind but commanding whisper, his Father voice said, I have to burn everything down. That's where we have to go. See, and this is on your handouts. Discontent and desire, those are the antidote God uses against the tactics of deflection and diminishment. Deflection and diminishment wants you to not really look at your pain, wants you to say, well, it wasn't so bad. But God will use discontent, right? Where you just go, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. So I wish something was different, right? And sometimes he even helps create some of that discontent, right? Something I call holy disruption, right? Where suddenly you lose your job and you're mad, right? You're mad at God. Why does all these bad things happen to me? Now, I'm not saying God causes all bad things. I'm saying sometimes God will let disruption happen to you, right? To disrupt you, to shake you, to go, look, if I don't create some discontent in you, you're just going to keep on this same path, right? So he uses discontent, and he uses desire. I know for me, and I talk about the aspen tree, that was one of the things when I first came to Colorado that caught my attention. And for me, these beautiful trees that, and the wind blows and they have a little song, right? There's something in me that I just go, it touches me somewhere. It happened to me when I would watch certain movies, right? Where I couldn't tell you why, but I would watch a movie or something like that where I would walk out of the movie and I would just feel something, like something was stirred, right? When as guys, I mean, when we talk about guy movies, right? There's certain movies as men we watch and we walk out and something is stirred. We can't describe it, we can't name it, but we feel something. Well, that's desire. There's something in us that just feels something. You might feel it when you look at the stars at night, right? Or you look at the mountains, or you look at a rainbow, or you look at a waterfall, or you look at the ocean, or you go to, we were lucky enough to go to Zion National Park, and you just stand and you just go, wow, right? Do you ever think about what that is? What is that feeling, right? Yeah, it's awe, it's wonder, it's all those things. But what's it tapping into? It's a desire. There's a desire in us that when it's awakened that says, there's more. There's more. It is a desire for a true Father. But we must let our true Father do something. We talked about the last session how, we got to take that sledgehammer, right? We got to take that sledgehammer. We got to demolish all those arguments, all those agreements. We must let our true Father disrupt and destroy. It's not pretty, right? I wish it was like everything was just warm and cozy and, everything. But to really have us connect with him as a true Father, God's got to disrupt and destroy the agreements we've made.